Hello, everyone, and welcome to Discover Joyous Love. I am your host, Anita DeFrancesco. This is episode number 16, and the topic is rumination, how to stop overthinking and getting rid of ruminating thoughts. Now, this is a topic that we probably haven't talked about, or many of you haven't heard of what rumination is. Rumination is repetitive thoughts that go on in the head. It could be obsessive thinking. It's a pattern that's in the pain body, and it lives around anxiety and depression. So let me get on with what we're going to talk about here. How do you stop overthinking and getting rid of the ruminating thoughts? So this is what is talked about as head chatter, and how we get rid of this head chatter that lives and repeatedly guides us, rules us, takes control of our being. It's almost part of the judgment of the human character. It's the noise in the head that takes over our soul, our spirit. There's a lot of work to be done here, and it can be done, and you can do the work, and you can end those ruminating thoughts that live in your head. Rumination is one between anxiety and depression, repeating the thought or problem without completion, and just going in circles with yourself over and over and over again. So are you tired of overthinking and the same repetitive thoughts over and over? There's many things that we can do to help ourselves. Mindfulness and being in the present moment, of course, is the key here. Learning how to become present and mindful. But we'll talk about that and how to get and cultivate a program for you so that you can live at ease, live free, that is. Now, when one is depressed, the themes of rumination are about being worthless. So this goes back to depression, not being able to move on. There's clinical depression and there's just a temporary depression, or people walk around and say they're depressed. It means they're suppressed and they're unable to express. So when you're depressed, you're not expressing your thoughts, your feelings. And when you're depressed or have a feeling of depression or suppression, you want to be able to open up and express, scream, cry, let it out. Because this is undoing the layers, and this will, because if you don't continually express your pain or remove the pain from the body, it builds up and could become clinical depression at some point. The repetition and feelings of inadequacy, they raise anxiety, and anxiety interferes with solving the problem. So anxiety is something that stems from fear. A lot of us have anxiety, but why do you have anxiety? First of all, where does anxiety come from, right? It comes from a place of fear, danger. Let's reflect back on when you were growing up. What was your childhood like? What kind of experiences did you have? Was there a lot of fear in the household? Did one of your parents come home drunk? Did they scare you in ways and threaten you in ways? So anxiety comes from this thing of fear, danger, and it becomes the character. The feelings that people get when they have anxiety is panic. They panic over anything. They panic if they're in traffic and they think they're going to hit a car or something. This is this revolving, ruminating thing around anxiety and negative thoughts. So basically, rumination is about holding on to negative thoughts and living with those negative patterns. A person that is and has a lot of anxiety is nervous. They're restless. They have OCD, or they may be have a little bit of OCD with that, or not completely obsessive compulsive disorder, but there is some neurosis there. There's neurotic behavior and worry, and it comes from trauma, the PTSD that's living in your body for years and years on. So what we want to do is learn how to become more mindful and more present, but you have to do some work. You have to help yourself. So the key is it's really targeting who you are and learning how to help yourself. Worry and the environment you're in take notice of the type of environment that you're living in. Are you living with people that live in fear or that have a lot of fear stressors going on and they're triggered by every little thing? You want to remove yourself from negative people. That's number one. Number one, to remove yourself from the negative people or the people that don't talk that talk down to you. So that's also reinforcing and inhibiting you to have a lower self-worth, a low self-esteem. Comorbidities. Now, comorbidities are disease in the body, different diseases. You've heard that word now since we're in the COVID era, that comorbidities are, if people have comorbidities, they're more susceptible to getting COVID. But the thing is, we're not talking about COVID, but if you have comorbidities, you certainly are going to be living with anxiety, depending on your disease in your body. So another thing is to get acceptable and comfortable with whatever the diseases that you have in your body. Go to groups there, say you have kidney disease. There's healing groups for all kinds of diseases. People that, have heart disease is a very big thing. But you can't sit there and worry about what your diseases are, and that being to cause you to live in anxiety because your health isn't good. Your health will get worse if you live in anxiety. So another thing with rumination is these are automated negative thoughts. The goal is to avoid the automated negative thoughts, ANT. But it's to change or redirect them to something more useful or positive. So what people do is they self-sabotage themselves. They punish themselves with these negative thoughts over and over, the repetition. They're living in the negative thought. It's over and over in the head. So what we want to do is redirect them, remove them from your mind, remove them, look at them, categorize them, and set them aside. Write things down that are bothering you. What are your ruminating thoughts? Write them down. You need to separate them from who you are, who you were born, who that innocent person is inside. These are thoughts that are not even you. You're just avoiding the present self. You're avoiding who you are in the present moment. And that is what it's all about. People don't accept or like themselves. They really don't love themselves either. They think they do. But the key is to accept and love yourself continually, a little bit more each day by doing good things for yourself, surrounding yourself with good people. It's a job, and especially if you don't come from a good foundation, a divorced family, a family of drugs and alcohol, a family where you went to school and you were bullied or no one accepted you. Maybe you were different. You didn't accept what was going on. There's mental illness in the family. There's a lot of factors here. And you have to take a note and reflect back on, you didn't have the perfect family, right? You didn't. There's much you can do for this. Now, we have what we call a body memory, the body sensory memory. So your body remembers everything. Like, for example, if you hurt yourself, you fall down, you're a child, and you hurt your knee, for example. Your body remembers that, say, 20 years later, and you hurt that knee again. You have what we call sense memory. And it remembers when you were a child and you hurt your knee there, and now you're an adult and you're hurting your knee again. So this is called the sense memory. And within that sense memory lives the pain. So if the pain was emotional, verbal, or physical, the body will hold on to it. And especially if it was emotional, where you were targeted, you were a target of abuse, of neglect, abandonment. This sense memory is what we want to address when healing ourselves from rumination or anything. Because the rumination, again, is anxiety and depression. So you want to find a place in between anxiety and depression. Now, we need to address the body. We need to get into the body. Wilhelm Reich's work, for example. I'm a Reichian Wilhelm Reich orgonomist therapist, where what we do is we charge the body up in a breath that allows us to empty out and address the nervous system so that we can recreate the self and remove. It's restructuring your cognition is what you really have to do, because these negative patterns, even if it's a negativity that's happening today and it goes away, and then say a year from now you have some other negativity that decides to live in your brain or your body or your brain body for a while, those old ones are still there, and this piles up on top, and the new pain is really worse. So for each and every experience that you have to continually what we do called emotional cleansing, because you don't want to have these patterns, because they can become a volcano. They intensify over time. So if you keep cleaning out, like you wash your dishes every day, you wash your dishes, right? You wash your body every day. If you didn't wash your body every day, you would build up with dirt and grease and smell, and it would intensify. And then when you go to wash it, say after 2 weeks of not getting washed, it's going to be harder to get the dirt off, right? It's going to be harder to accept yourself as that fullness, that cleanliness. So comparing it to other things, you always want to compare to other things. Now you have brain chemistry, okay? And this makes it hard to switch to another perspective, to find a way out. Again, restructuring the cognition, because the anxiety and depression can only reinforce what the chemistry is in the body. Now, you can change your chemistry. Again, it takes a lot of breathing work, somatic therapy work. You have to get into the body. Cognitive talking is wonderful, but that's not the only thing for people with rumination. You need to address the sensory body, because the memories are in the body. Rumination switches on and off. You can get out of the negative neural networks and by tackling one problem at a time. Now, what I say with this is, you're listening to Discover Joyous Love. Anita DeFrancesco here, episode number 16. Rumination is our topic. Good morning, everyone. We need to scan the body. I'm going to go over that with you in a moment, but taking one problem at a time. The first thing you want to do when addressing your whole psychological being, to help yourself become better, don't you want to become better? Don't you want to be happy in life? Is that you want to take each problem one at a time and write them down. Write everything down that you think is bothering you psychologically, emotionally. And then you want to work on one at a time with a therapist, with a coach, with a guidance counselor, someone that can witness your process, witness your development, your newness. And as time goes on, the cognition will restructure. Now, as far as the sense memory in the body, what we want to do is scan the body. And one way of doing this is talking to yourself, talking to your body, closing your eyes for a moment, and taking each body part. For example, you can call me or write me, and I can give you instructions on how to do this. Like, for example, I'll close my eyes and I'll say, from my feet up to my knees, I'm feeling, I'm hearing, I'm feeling. What am I feeling from my ankles up to my knees? What am I feeling? What am I sensing from my ankles to my knees? Or what am I hearing? Even though you don't hear with that body part, there's the hearing, the relationship to the space environment. So we're always hearing something, even in the silence you're hearing. So whatever I'm noticing from my ankles up to my knees, from my knees up to my hips. And then this is how you get into scanning your body and understanding what sense memory is about. And you assert it out loud. Well, what I'm noticing is I have a numbness there, or I have some fear or emotional pain, whatever it is that you have there. I feel like I'm neglected, or I don't feel like my feet are on the ground. So there's much to do, folks. There's much to do. Ending the rumination by exiting, again, the negative memory network. So you want to start to think positive. I know it's in a world that we're living in, and maybe you're challenged with many, problems and whatever you have going on in your life, your job, your home, your family, rise above that. Happiness is a choice. Now, this is one choice. I mean, I've come from so much pain. In my book, Live Free, which you can get it on Amazon, it's available. In that book, I talk about one part of my life, letting go of victimization. And, one of the things that I found to help me was to shift my thinking into choosing happiness by laughing and smiling at everything. I know it's so serious here with you, but I find everything amusing. And this was my way out, comic relief, they call it, right? Comic relief. But in order to get there, there's this sense memory in the body that needs to release, that needs to undo, that needs to unfold. And once you can start there, you got to do some work with your body. There's no other way. Neural networks are triggered by the mood. Your mood may have connected to other moods when you were afraid of bad outcomes. Right. So your mood, what's your feeling, what's your thought? Are you connecting to these things from way in the past? Again, they're old patterns living in your body, and they are in your way. They are taking you over. They are governing you. They are controlling you. Think about the happy times. Look at photos that, say, when you were a child, okay, or you were on trips with people. Like, I look at old photos when I was in my 20s. I'm only in my 30s now, But when I was in my 20s, I would look at these old photos of friends, boyfriends that hurt me so badly, and I was on a trip with them. But I would look at it and look at the happy times and the happy memory of that trip. And I recall the thoughts and what my body felt like. Even if I was in a good relationship or a bad relationship, or find myself in a family photo, and mom and dad weren't so great at that time with me, or they weren't as accepting, or they were neglectful or abusive or whatever, I would still look at the photos and find a happy moment there. Because listen, nothing is perfect. You should be glad that you were gifted life. That's it. You should be glad and happy that you were gifted life. It's what you do with your life. You can't count on anyone to save you. It's up to you to save yourself and rescue yourself, as I did. And because I chose happiness. And I look at these photos, and then I start to look at my body and say, what am I feeling in that photo in my body? What am I feeling? And that's where you can begin with your sense memory exercises. Joy and happiness are physical sensations. Sadness, depression, fear are physical sensations. So again, I already talked to you about that scanning of the body. The effects of ruminating, a clear link between rumination and an increased likelihood of developing depression. One must be careful with this repetitive thoughts, going through, overthinking, head chatter, because you can suddenly find yourself on antidepressants, and for no reason. A lot of doctors, they push antidepressants today. It's like the new drug. And it's not something that you need. You need to work on yourself. You're not going to be depressed forever. But if you take antidepressants and then you go off, that changes the chemistry of your brain when you have control of your own chemistry. Remember that. I look at antidepressants like some kind of vaccine that's getting stuck in your head or something that you don't need. It's your choice, okay, to help yourself from settling into depression. Renewing, there's many problem-solving abilities that you can cultivate, making it difficult to recover from depression. So sometimes depression can be difficult to recover from, but one of the ways to recover from depression is we're going to start with breathing. We're going to start with resiliency and loving the self. And to do something with your body. Go out there and do something with your body. I promise you will feel 100% better. One thing I used to do was swim 50 lengths 3 times a week. 50 lengths. That was my savior. The water, feeling like I was being reborn in a womb kind of thing. And also just the idea of moving the body, swimming. And that was one way of healing and saving myself. The lack of confidence. Now, confidence and courage. It takes courage to want to help yourself. For example, let's see what I have here. People dwell on those negative thoughts. They continually dwell. But what it does take is let's see what I have for you here. Okay. The only way to conquer the fear is to acknowledge it, write it down, become that, feel it, be it, live it, let it go. Letting go is key to all mental health. When you can acknowledge the pain, acknowledge the thought, and then let it go. This takes courage training. So opening the heart, first of all. And to become more courageous, you have to Use your courage when you know that fear is an illusion in your mind. So fear is nothing more than an illusion in the mind. And this courage that you develop, that you cultivate, that you harness, it begins in your heart. So you want to open up your heart to feelings. Express yourself to people. You'll see that you'll get some sensation in your body and you'll feel much more positive about yourself. Good morning, everyone. Now, looking at the history of trauma that lives in your body, perfectionist, are you a perfectionist? Are you a neurotic? Women, rumination is triggered by sadness and men by anger. So women that experience rumination is generally triggered by a sense of sadness. And usually because their heart is more open, so they feel the sadness. They're sad about someone dying, someone, leaving them, abandoning them, the parents not being there, where a man would be more triggered in rumination by anger. And men generally are. They try to fight the feeling with anger. So anger is there, but they use it as a shield sometimes to protect themselves when anger needs to be released out of the body, folks. It's not going to be, because that can create armor. Okay. So too much anger creates sexual armor, emotional armor, just general armor. Strategies to help decrease rumination include distraction, meditation, realistic goal setting, and work on building your self-esteem. So you need to write everything down, scan the body, do the scanning body exercise every day. What I'm noticing from my ankles up to my knees up to my pelvis. And every day do this and take a moment to work on discovering what the sensory perception is, that how the sense memory lives in your body. We just want to restructure our cognition, but it takes the body to do that, or you'll be doing it for a longer time. But if you begin with the body, it'll take much quicker to let go of. Depression, an inability to banish and sad memories. So when you hold on to the past, right? Some people hold on to the past so much, those sad memories. They continually, repeat, repetitiveness, rehash all the sadness, the bad stuff. Let it go. Let it go. You're in today's time. Let it go, folks. Life is way too short to be hanging on to old pain. It's about a choice to be happy, right? And I've already said that because that's one of the things that I have done as a child with my challenges over the years of growing up in a lot of dysfunction and a lot of pain and neglect and abandonment. I learned and I chose to be happy because I honor and cherish life and I love it so much. And look, we only get so many years here. Being able to let go, right? Grudges, surrendering. How long do you hold on to the visceral feelings of anger? For example, you're driving and someone makes you angry in traffic. And how long do you hold on to that? Like I know people, they come in and they're angry about these visceral feelings that they're hanging on to. They're angry about someone cutting them out in traffic. And they'll go on about that for 3 days. How long do you hold on to that stuff? You got to let it go. The more you learn to let go, these little things that happen from day in and day out, which they do time over time, you're going to always have some kind of stress developing and anger that's going to step in your beautiful divine being. They're over the shoulder. In one ear, out the other. They're over the shoulder. Like you're done with that. So that when the big thing comes, the big pain, that you're able to work that effectively. So that is our topic today, rumination. And I'll give you what my saying is for this week. Okay, so here's one, something by William Shakespeare. But it is a melancholy of mine own, compounded of many simples, extracted from many objects, and indeed the sundry contemplation of my travels, which by often rumination wraps me in the most humorous sadness. William Shakespeare. So yes, rumination is like a circle, of sadness. It's a circle of repetitiveness that takes over who you are. So, okay, I want to wish you all a great day. Thank you for tuning in to Discover Joyous Love, episode 16. Anita DeFrancesco here with you. My books are the DonnaGentileStory.com, a true crime book, and LiveFree.com. Live Free, Recreate and Liberate Your Life. That's also available on Amazon, and my website there is TantraWisdom.com. Thank you for tuning in.